Welcome to the Landy Peak podcast. I'm your host and friend, Landy Peak, and I am thrilled to have you join me. In each episode, we will explore what makes life truly fulfilling: happiness, deep connections, and self-discovery. Together, we'll uncover that happiness is not a destination, but a way of living. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome, friends. This is Landy Peak, and today we are joined by the radiant Ranya, a human design embodiment coach who's on a mission to help others rediscover their authentic selves. Ranya brings a grounded and soulful approach to this transformational system, and her journey began with a moment of self-discovery. And since then, she's been guiding others to not just understand their design, but to truly live it. Get ready to feel seen, inspired, and lit up from within. Ranya, welcome to the Landy Peak podcast. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about you?
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me, Landy. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Ranya, and I am a human design embodiment coach. And I had to figure out with that title because I'm all about human design. I'm obsessed with it. I have, a little story of how I stumbled on it as well. Finding myself again. And I have been embodying my human design for about 5 years now, and I'm really passionate about teaching others how to really step fully into their human design, be the authentic self, love themselves unconditionally. So it's the embodiment work that I do a lot with my clients with human design.
Oh, I love that. I'm so excited to learn about human design because it's not something I've really dove into. And embodiment is such a theme in my life right now and the work I do with my clients, because there's such a difference between that cognitive learning of something,
Yes.
actually taking it into your life and into your body and really living that way. So
Absolutely.
for listeners who have never heard about human design, can you tell us what human design is?
Yeah, so to put things really simple, human design is a system or a tool, mix of tools of ancient science, modern science, quantum physics, the chakra system. So it has a lot to do with how it was created. But I have been using so many different tools, and human design was like the cherry on top. For me, it just made sense. And, the more I experiment with it, the more I help my clients with it, it's just mind blowing. It's an energetic tool for you to understand your energetic blueprint, how you experience the different energy, learn more about yourself, what are your unique gifts and your unique superpowers, and how can you use that actually to share it with, with the world around you, with the people around you. But it all starts with you knowing yourself. And it's kind of like the permission slip. Sometimes we know this stuff, but when we hear somebody actually tells us, that stuff about us, we're kind of like, I know that, right? And it gives you that permission slip to really step fully into your authentic self, unconditionally, unapologetically.
And I love that. And it's interesting so before our conversation, you had me go through and figure out my own human design. Which was really eye-opening as I started looking into what does this mean? I'm a manifestor generator, and
Yeah.
what is that? What does that look like? And it's interesting as you do read through and you're going, that makes sense. That
Yes.
makes sense. So
Yeah.
when you're talking about going from that makes sense as I'm reading it, how do we take it to that embodiment? What does it really do for our lives?
Yes, and this is a very good point, and I'm very happy that we're starting there. I don't know if you've seen on my Facebook, I posted something today, which is the biggest mistake I see people doing with human design is they get really hooked on all the information because it is quite a lot of information. Human design has so many layers, and sometimes we get down the rabbit hole of really trying to understand everything about our human design, gathering information, and sometimes we worry too much about things that are pretty advanced. And to me, like it doesn't really matter, right? And I gave an example on my post today is that I do have a channel which, we don't need to go like in super details, but I do have this theme within me about self-love. It is something that's consistent within me once I tap into it. But to me, it doesn't really make sense that I know this about me if I actually don't love myself. Like, how can I use this gift if I still need to do the inner work to actually love myself unconditionally to then use it as a tool, right? So when we think about human design, or when we learn about human design, the first thing I tell my clients and, the listeners and everybody listening to this, focus on the foundation. Like, really understand what is your human design type. So in your case and my case, we're both manifesting generators. So really
Yeah.
understanding what that means and how can I live true to myself. And I can give a couple of examples if we need to go there. But also our strategy, which is how we interact with the world, at our best, our way to, the least resistance,
Yes.
and our authority, which is how we make the aligned decisions. Because
Okay.
not everybody is designed to, you know, make decisions the same way. Some of us have their intuition, some of us follow their gut feeling, some of us do, fast decisions. I have an emotional authority, so I need to sleep on my decision. And understand just your type, strategy, and authority alone. If you start there and really start living by those three, then you start adding up another layer, and things are just going to fall into place because you have that solid foundation. It's like building a house. You can't start from the roof. You need to go down to the ground, put your feet there, make sure that you have that solid foundation, and then start adding more layers as you go.
Oh my gosh. So if there's a lot of information in there,
Yes.
I'd love to go a little, because I think I jumped ahead, a little bit more basic in what does human design all tell us? And focusing on those three major parts that you talked about, that foundation. What are the different parts? What do people need to know about human design before we launch into bigger conversations?
Yes. So I guess we can start by the type. So what does that mean is that we have five different people, five different types of people,
Okay.
or five different types in human design. And
Mhm.
it's the way we are processing our energy. It's the way our energy works. So we have five types. So we have the manifesting generators, we have the generators, projectors, reflectors, and manifestors. And each one, they're very specific, they're very different.
Okay.
So I'll give you two examples out of those. So manifesting generator, like you and I, we
Huh?
thrive when we work on different things. We like to have so many things going on at the same time in our lives. We have so much energy. When we are working on something that we love, we get more excited, we have more energy, and we're like, I feel your energy, you feel my energy. We're like super excited about this conversation. Versus maybe a projector, they don't have consistent energy when it comes to, as much energy as a manifesting generator. And to me, I always tell them, don't look at what I'm doing. I want you to think, how you can do this in a smart way, not the hard way, right? They
Okay.
need to sustain their energy, and they have this laser focus type of approach. They
Hmm.
see through the blind spots of people. So for me, I'm going super fast, and then I need the projector to slow me down sometimes, right? So we
Absolutely.
complete each other with our gifts. And like I said, everybody has a unique gift, and we start with the type because, like I said, there's five different types and they're pretty different. Like, each one has a role in this world. And I believe if everybody really embody their authentic selves,
Okay.
we're going to heal the world, because I can bring my gifts and then you can bring your gifts and then somebody else is going to bring their gift, instead of me trying to show up as somebody else. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And push against my energy. I can
Okay.
actually step into my own genius and show up from there, because the world needs that genius, right? Whether
Yeah,
it's mine or yours.
absolutely. I love that. So go over the five types really quick and just to kind of a brief touch in of each type so everybody knows, and then let's kind of move from there.
Yes. So I'll step I'll take a pause here 1 second, if you don't
Absolutely.
mind. How to actually know your type. So
There you go.
maybe we
Oh,
start there, right? Because maybe somebody's like, oh, I'm super interested. How do I know that? So there are websites, that you can go for free. You can put in your birth information, the place of birth, time, and date. Yeah, I think that's, and the place of birth as well. And then it generates your chart. I prefer the Jovian archive, which is like the original work of Ra, who's the creator of the human design system. But there are so many different free chart generators. And then
Okay.
once you put in your information, you're going to get this chart with, lots of colors, lots of things that, maybe a little bit overwhelming. But then on the side, you're going to find your type, your strategy, and your authority, and all these details. And that's how you will know your type.
Okay.
So the different types that we have the majority of the population are generators and manifesting generators. So the manifesting generator is a subtype of a generator, and they're both have a lot of energy, the workforce energy. They're here to create, they're here to work, but they need to work on what really brings them joy. Because otherwise, if they commit to something that actually is not as exciting, they start pushing against their energy and drain their energy, which could lead to burnout. Um,
Absolutely. Been there. Yeah.
so yeah, exactly. So even though we have a lot of energy, we need to really sustain it by working on what we love, and we can work a lot in a good way. Like it excites us when we're working on something maybe it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
So that's the generator, and they're usually here to master the things that they're working on versus the manifesting generator. I said, like me and you, we like to actually play in different buckets. We want to try this and try that. And, just a little bit slightly different
Hmm.
without going like into super details. We have the manifester. So the manifesting generator is a generator with some aspects from the manifester.
Okay.
And the manifester is here to activate us. He's here to initiate us. They start things. Maybe they're out of the box. Maybe they do things that have never done before. They give us something for us to activate us and work on. So it kind of starts with the manifester, and then the manifesting generator or the generator, they pick up and do the work. And they are very, very powerful as well in their own way. We have the projectors who are here to really guide us. Like I said, they're the laser focused, they see through things. They're, amazing guides. And one important thing for them to know is that even though they want to help the whole entire world, they just need to, wait for those invitations and make sure that this person is aligned for them without
Mhm.
them, volunteering their opinions or volunteering their advices, even though it comes from a good heart. But how to live in alignment is actually to wait for people to come to them for their advice or their guidance. So those are the projectors. And the last type, which is the reflector, they are about 1% or less percent of the population. So they're very rare and they are very sensitive to others. We call them the reflector because they do reflect back at us how we're doing in this life. So they have this, magical, gift of mirroring back at us as humans. How well are we doing? They see things that maybe we don't see, and they need to reflect back at us all so we can keep improving and keep doing better. So as you see, everyone is very different from these types, but we're all interconnected somehow when we work together.
That's incredible. Okay, so we know our basic type. Then what's the next thing that we need to focus on?
So with the type, it goes with the type, the strategy, like I said, which is how you kind of interact with the world. So, like I said, with the projector, instead of going and initiating an advice like a manifestor maybe would do, for the
Yeah.
projector, they just need to wait for the invitation. Like I said, wait for people to come to them. So
Uh,
if you are a projector and you have a loved one and you want the best for them, just hold off a little bit, give them the space for them to come to you.
yeah.
I grew up with my mom was a projector, my older sister was a projector. So I know how it feels when, loved ones are trying to give me advice that I didn't ask for, even though I know it's for my best. But now
Uh-huh.
that I know that they're projectors, I go to my mom or my sister, I'm like, hey, I want to ask you a question because I know that they see things that I may not be seeing. So the projector strategy is to wait for the invitation, wait for people to come to you and
Yeah.
ask you for your guidance. The generators and manifesting generators are more to respond. So we interact with the world in a different way where we see something and we feel that excitement. We call that the sacral response. And then
Okay.
you say, yes, I want to do that. It's exactly the same way I saw that you were looking for guests. And I was like, oh, this is exciting. And let me put myself out there. So it's waiting to respond, rather than me going and trying to again initiate something. It's more to wait to respond, and you see it could be anything really outside of you. It could be a book that you read, a podcast that you listen to, and it activates something in you and gets you excited. And then you go with it and you work on it. And then the reflector, because they're very, very sensitive people, and the way they work energetically, they need to wait a lunar cycle for, bigger decisions or bigger changes. And sometimes, reflectors would be like, do I really have to wait for that?
Mhm.
I would say, take things slow. And the very important thing for them to be in the right environment with the right people, because they absorb a lot of the energy that is around them, and to remember that their job is not to absorb the energy and feel drained by it. It's more to reflect back, like, I see you, I feel you, right? But how
Okay.
to protect their own energy, because they're very unique in the way that they have been designed. And um, they have a gift that they need to sustain.
Right. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have our type, our strategy, and then what was next?
The authority. So the authority is the way we make decisions.
Okay.
So again, I'm a manifesting generator. I saw
Mhm.
your post as something for me to respond to, and
Okay.
then it's either a yes or no. So that yes or no, sometimes we're so conditioned to think about things mentally.
Mhm.
And in human design, we learned something very different, which is sometimes your mind is logical, or, is giving you something based on the information your mind has, versus your body. Your body knows. And a lot of times it's different than what your mind is trying to tell you, right?
Oh, yeah.
And there are different ways for people to make aligned decisions. So we'll start with the reflector, since we were there, with the lunar cycle. It's the same thing. They just need to wait. Their strategy and authority is the same. They need to wait that lunar cycle.
Okay.
For smaller decisions, they will start to get into that flow of knowing what's best for them, as long as they are in the right environment and with the right people.
Okay.
And if it's not, then maybe they can explore other options without really moving across the country, but maybe go for a vacation and see if they really like, the vibe there more. Um, so that's specifically for the reflector. But other than that, we have different types of authorities. So, it could be the intuition, like what do they, intuitively feel. The sacral authority, it's more about the gut feeling, and it works in yes or no, like yes, I'm excited, or uh-huh, like we say in human design, uh-huh, like I want to work on that, or uh-uh, that's the sacral sound, like no, right?
Yeah.
Um, and the emotional authority, like me, we need to sleep on our decision for a day or two, just to
Okay.
feel into things, because we have these emotional waves and it's not stable all the time. And sometimes today I feel excited, but tomorrow I might change my mind because I don't feel it, like doing it anymore.
Okay.
So for the emotional authority, it's better to sleep on their decisions. We have the ego authority, which is more of like the resources. Do I have the resources to work on that? Do I have the resources to invest in this? So there are 7 different types in total when it comes to authorities.
Wow.
Um, and that's really the embodiment work of how to get out of our head and into my sacral, or into my emotional authority, right? And
Wow.
trusting that new way of making decisions when you actually see the results.
That's incredible. So, how do you help people get out of their head and into that embodiment of this? When, I read through things and it's like, it is a lot of information. And
Yeah.
like, how do I actually apply this to my life? How do I start integrating without feeling overwhelmed, without getting too cognitive and stuck in the detail?
Hmm.
How do I start
Yeah.
taking that into my life?
So first of all, I'll look at their type,
Mhm.
and the strategy and authority, and we'll start exploring there.
Yeah.
So if they are a projector, for example, and they feel burned out, right?
Yeah.
I'll start asking them, how are they working? Are they trying to work smart, not hard? Or if they are a generator who's burned out, well, are you actually working on what brings you joy? Or do you, drag yourself out of bed to work on something that you actually don't like? So we start there, and then from there, and it could be different things. How are they feeling in general in life, in their business, in the workplace, with their partners? Maybe there's something that doesn't feel aligned. So we explore different areas just to make sure that I am living as a mani-gen, like a manifesting generator, or like a generator, or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and then the what I find the challenge is when we start really embodying the authority, which is how to make decisions, if they have not been utilizing that. So to give you an example, I'm an emotional authority. And when I learned about this back in, I started embodying my design in 2020. So when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, I wish somebody taught me that when I was younger, because I thought something was wrong with me
Mm-hmm.
because I live in a house or, my family, they either have the splenic authority, which is the intuition. So they know, right? And they go for it. Or, I have my dad he's a sacral authority. So again, like gut feeling right away, go. And I
Uh-huh.
am emotional authority. So I was trying to make decisions the way they are demonstrating for me, and then I
Yeah.
keep making mistake after mistake or change my mind and I feel frustration. And I'm like,
Yes.
what is wrong with me? Right.
Uh-huh.
But, and that's the permission slip of the human design that told me, well, sleep on your decision.
Uh-huh.
And it was very tough for me to embody that because I lived for so long trying to make fast decisions.
Yes.
So it was um, a learning process of reminding myself, how about I wait a day?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yes.
And then I feel it, but not 100%. Okay, how about I feel into it another day and learning to tell people I'll get back to you without feeling pressured that I need to answer them.
Oh, that's big.
Yes. And to be honest, it took me a while. That like I was very conditioned in the way I make decision. So it
Mm-hmm.
took me some time. But once there are two things I tell my clients when we get there is that, maybe reflect on past decisions when they
Uh-huh.
went right and when they didn't go right.
Right.
And try to remember, did you make that decision mentally or did you actually followed your intuition or sacral or slept on it, right? And they
Right.
start reflecting and they say, you know what? I think you're right. I'm like, I know I'm right. How about we start actually embodying this as we go in the future?
Uh-huh.
And reminding them. And sometimes, clients would come to me and it's like, I feel this or I think about this. I'm like, okay, let's go back to your sequel. And sometimes even when I'm coaching or I'm giving, direction or I propose something, I always
Right.
tell them, okay, before we go, let's pass it through your authority because I can say whatever I want. It needs to feel aligned for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Right. So it's all about really getting them out of their mind and really asking the right questions
Uh-huh.
for their specific authority. Right. Are you really excited about this? Yes, but I'm afraid. Okay, we can handle fears, but your
Right.
body knows that you want to go in that direction. And that's usually the mental sacral conversation or the mental intuition conversation. And really just reminding them of their power because they have that inner wisdom and their inner voice. And sometimes we're just too afraid to listen to it.
Absolutely. That's amazing. I love how you're really taking it into the practical embodiment
Yeah.
where this is and the grace and permission that yes, we made a mistake and tuning in, how did I make that decision? Was it really aligned with who I am and my human design? Or was
Yeah.
this a cognitive decision that I made in a rash thing and then I have that regret? And I've totally done that. I am definitely in that feeling like I've got to feel good about it. And if I don't feel good about it, then I just don't have any motivation to do it. And
Yeah.
in my own business, my coach has, I have a business coach, and she has told me if it does not feel good, I cannot do it because I have
Hmm.
my business so much of like, this is the template, this is what you should do. All of the shoulds that just get me frustrated and burned out. And it's like, this is my new rule. If it doesn't feel good, I don't do it. And as you're talking
Yeah.
about human design, I'm so much more curious about like, I wonder what that says about me and how that aligns and what my chart, overlaps and aligns with the things that I'm actually practicing in life. And it's
Yes.
a cool new perspective.
It is. And I'm very happy that you've realized that for yourself and choosing that for yourself. When I started my business, everybody was telling me, you got to niche down. Like choose one problem, one ideal client, one. And as
Yep.
a manifesting generator, that kept me stuck for at least 6 months. I
Mhm.
could not niche down, no matter how hard I try. Because as a manifesting generator, we are designed to work on multiple things.
Uh-huh. Oh, yes. I
We
need.
thrive
Mhm.
exactly right when we play in different buckets. And honestly, like it did feel right for me to speak about human design because I can speak about authenticity, I can speak about burnout, I can speak about communication, I can speak about selling, I can speak about everything within the niche of the big umbrella of human design, and that felt right. And the other interesting thing I'll just say because it's a funny story is that I came I became a human design coach in response, which is my human design strategy. I
Okay.
was speaking on my Instagram about how human design is fascinating me, sharing about my own experience, and people started asking me, how much would you charge if you read my chart? And I was like, oh, wait a minute, that's something for me to respond to. Do I want to do that? And it did excite me. And then this is really how I became a human design embodiment coach. It wasn't like in the plan or anything, it just came naturally as I was making one aligned decision at a time.
That is my life. And
Uh-huh.
it literally is, as I have had those things that have come, those serendipitous things that feel serendipitous, but it is that response. And
Yes.
I chose my career. I'm an occupational therapist because I could be an OT. And I mean, I bounced careers. I finally landed at OT in when I was 30. So I could bounce all the, I bounced different jobs. I could be an OT. I could say I'm an OT. I don't have to change my actual what's on my, what do you do for a living? And I could work with kids and I could work with adults and I could do work in rehab and I could do
There
pelvic
you go.
and I could do mental health and I'm still an OT. And then
Yeah.
the response, I had my own pelvic health private practice and I had two different people reach out and say, "Can you help me grow my practice? Yours is doing so well. Can you help me?" Hence I responded and stepped into coaching. And
Yeah.
that is like, as I look back, as you shared your story, how many different parts of my life were exactly that, where it was a response
Hmm.
to something that was put out there, jobs that I've gotten, career paths that I've gotten. And it's just like light bulbs going off of, that makes sense. It wasn't just random stuff that happened. It really
Yeah.
was following that human design.
Yeah. And that's why is it really fascinating is that when you reflect on things, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'll add another layer since we're here, which
Yeah.
is you're not self-theme. And that's kind of like your red flag that something is off. You're not embodying your human design, and you're not self-theme is a feeling that you get based on your type
Yeah.
that gives you that sign of, okay, stop, step back,
Uh-huh.
realign. So
Uh-huh.
for the manifesting generators, that feeling is frustration.
Yes. I
So
just
when you feel frustration, yeah, when you feel frustrated, it's either because you're not living by your type or your
Mhm.
strategy, or you made a mental decision not by your authority, or I go on and on and on with the other layers, but it always starts there.
Right.
And for the manifester, the not self theme or that feeling is anger. For the projectors, it's bitterness.
Okay.
For the reflectors, it's disappointment. So
Uh,
it's different for each person. And sometimes I get a client and they're like, oh, this happened. I feel so frustrated. I'm like, okay, you even said the word
uh-huh.
unconsciously.
Yeah.
Let's step back and see where did things, may have gone wrong, or where have you maybe a little bit went too far from your design, and
Right.
let's realign. Now that this has happened, what do we need to do from here?
I love that. Okay, so when that and frustration has been like a theme that definitely guides me. So when you hit that space where you're frustrated, where you're angry, where you're really hitting that response, what do you do next? Like, where do you go when you're like, okay, I know I'm kind of hitting up at that dead end, but I
Yeah.
don't know how to backtrack or step back or look at things differently. How do you use human design to help you there?
Yes. So I created this kind of like fast track method. I call it the energetic checkup. So
Okay.
that's my shortcut tool that I use with my clients and with myself sometimes on a daily basis.
Okay.
Every morning it's kind of like doing a quick checkup at a, for physical, checkup. We do this energetically using your human design chart. So
Okay.
the first thing is to really understand your human design, so
Uh-huh.
you're able to walk through this process after, and then asking yourself simple questions. As a manifesting generator, am I having fun, let's say in my business?
Uh-huh.
I thrive on selling three offers. Have I been trying to focus on one
Yep.
offer versus selling two, three at a time, because two or three is
Uh-huh.
super fun, right? Or let's say in my personal life, have I stretched myself so thin that I feel frustrated because I cannot focus on my two to three priorities that I want to work on? Right? It's what brings me joy. Am I stuck into doing things that doesn't bring me joy when I'd rather be working on this because it brings me joy, right?
Uh,
And
yeah.
that's the first thing to say, okay, so I need maybe stronger boundaries to say no to those and yes to those.
Yeah.
If there has none, like if there's no issue there, I go to the second layer of, have I waited to respond or am I initiating as a manifester, right? Because my strategy is to wait to respond,
Uh-huh.
right? So did I initiate a conversation rather than, waiting for things just to fall into place, right?
Yeah.
Because we're co-creating here. And, that could be also something that I have tried something, I initiated something, I went after something, and then
Mhm.
it fell flat. So
Mhm.
I feel frustrated,
Yes,
right?
driving me.
Versus Exactly. Versus something happens, it shows up into my world. I feel excited. I go for it. And then, whether it works or not, you won't feel that frustration because you know that you've tried it, it didn't work. Okay, what else? What's next? It
Yes.
won't cause you frustration.
Yes.
And then we go into the authority, which
Okay.
is again, have I made that mental decision? And
Mhm.
now I'm feeling frustrated. Have I
Mhm.
committed to something? I said yes to something when I should have said no, right?
Yes.
Because I followed what is logical versus I do trust my authority and I respect that and I know that it's going to work for my own benefit,
Okay. This makes so
right?
much sense. Yes.
Yes, and I love it. So that's really the embodiment work of actually just not knowing the information about your human design, but actually make it actionable
Yeah.
and living with it,
Mhm.
applying it day to day, and then you get better and then you add another layer and so on.
And it's huge to know, like, as I go into my own personal life, looking at I am supposed to respond, of course, according to my chart. But those times where I do feel that I'm not aligned with my passion, I'm doing things because I think I should, I start
Hmm.
pushing, so then I initiate, then I feel that frustration, then I have no joy in what I'm doing, and I'm extra frustrated. Like, it makes so much sense as I look at the trails that I've walked down that way versus the things that have seemed to just come naturally,
Yeah,
that are that response to something, are the things that light me up and are passionate. And hearing that human design of I am supposed to bounce so many things, like, has been one of the things in my life of like, oh my gosh, I cannot just freaking stay with a career.
yeah.
Like, I have to just bounce all the time. And like, my parents are definitely ones. My dad knew he wanted to be a veterinarian from the time he was like in first grade. He was a veterinarian till he retired, like, very linear. And there is
Mm,
other and that expectation to like pick a career and do it. And here I am bouncing. Like, I bounced my majors all through college every semester. I had something new. And then I find a degree that's like I can bounce and I continually bounce. And even
yeah,
my own coaching career, I'm like, oh, I'll do this for a while. And then I pivot. And then I pivot. And then I pivot. It now makes sense that I need to
yeah,
have more instead of that niching down, where I have niched down, but then I niche and then I niche again. And then I end up having three different businesses, allowing myself to have those multiple buckets, to play in the different buckets and how that opens up. And I can just feel it in my body of like, oh, here's the permission to like
yeah,
really work how I want to work, where I can break the system and say, I don't need just one offer. That doesn't feel good and fun. So I
yeah.
love permission just here. Like, oh, I do need to have more fun and play, and that's okay.
Yeah, yeah. And you know what? That's why I love human design for exactly that experience that I can see it, through this conversation is that permission slip because there's a lot of times when we're expecting out of ourselves, things that we need to be in a specific way
Yes.
and it's causing us that frustration that why can't I just be that? Right?
Yeah.
And we're looking at others, maybe our role models, our examples that we look up to, and we're trying so hard to be like them, but we just can't. And if we manage to be like them, we actually end up being not happy, frustrated, because we're not being our authentic self. And
Absolutely.
human design is such a beautiful tool to start really understanding yourself. And like I
Mhm.
said, step by step embodying it. But then
Yep.
after that, how can I use that now? Like that's my superpower. How can I use it? How can I bring this forward? How can I amplify it?
Yes, I love that next level question. How can I use it now? How can I amplify it? Because I think that's such a huge part of us expanding and really stepping into our authentic self and how we're supposed to
Yeah.
live. Because I'm really good and have been really good in the past of modeling of this is how I'm supposed to run my business. I can get it at, six figures, whatever that goal is, and then I
Hmm.
burn it to the ground because I've done it in a way that isn't authentic to me. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, and then I'm starting over with my new passion. And then I get it to grow and I, get it to whatever artificial goal I set. And then I burn it to the ground. And I'm like, and here's my next one. And it makes so much sense, as you're saying, really aligning with that human design and growing in a way that feels authentic and good would save me the burnout of doing
Yeah.
it over and over because I'm doing it authentically versus trying to do it someone else's way.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like I said, there's so many other layers that we could add to this conversation that would specifically talk, to what you're saying, like how to save myself from burnout. What does it feel aligned for me? How can I show up? When do I speak? How do I speak? Like we have so many different layers in human design that we could probably speak for another month. And, but that's the thing, understanding your human design would answer a lot of questions and give you that permission to just be yourself. At the
Right.
end, you've got you, right?
I,
So this is your life and this
yeah.
is my life. And that's really, I reached a place where I was trying to people please everybody around me. I wanted everybody to love me. I wanted everybody to be happy with me. I wanted to be friends with everyone.
Mhm.
And I ended up being in a place where I was not happy at
Right.
all. And then I remember this part of me that said, I don't even know who I am anymore because I've been on this quest of trying to please everybody. I lost the sense of who I am.
Yes. I think that's a
And
really good thing a lot among a lot of people. I felt
yes,
that I've lost who I am. I've lost that connection. Yeah.
yeah. And I remember very clearly there was a point where I said, if this is my life and if I can't please people anyways, because I tried everything and they're still not pleased, right?
Yeah.
Might as well do whatever I want now.
Yes.
Might as well.
Absolutely.
And that was the start of my own self-development journey and self-love journey and really getting into this whole thing until the cherry on top, which was human design. I was like, oh my God, I wish somebody just taught me that when I was in my 20s.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Same. You go on that self-development. You really start owning you. But human
Yeah,
design is that cherry on top. And that's just where I'm getting is that human design now being brought in. And it's
yeah.
so powerful as I'm listening to you. Um, okay, so we have the type, the strategy, authority. Where do we go from here?
Another important piece to mention, which is the centers, because there's a lot of deconditioning work in the centers. Which is, if you look at your chart, you're going to see those triangles,
Huh?
the triangles and squares. So
Yes.
these are energetic centers, and we have nine, and each
Okay.
one of them has a theme. So, for example, we start from the top, which is the head ajna. It's how we are inspired. It
Okay.
goes to the ajna, which is how we take the inspiration and turn it into a thought process, or, you know, the way we think, fixed mindset, or maybe we're open-minded to see different perspectives, depending on, if it's colored in or white. So there's so many different layers, but I just want to give you an idea of how this work actually goes and deepens as you continue the embodiment work. So we have the head and ajna, and then we have the throat, which is for communication and manifestation. We have the G center, which is our self-love and our direction and our identity. And then
Yeah.
we have the heart center, which is our willpower and self-esteem.
Mm-hmm.
We have the emotional solar plexus, which is our emotions, emotional intelligence. We have the spleen, which is the intuition and also a center for fears. We
Oh,
have the sacral, which is the workforce energy. And then we have the root, which is the adrenal pressure of how about we do more and then more and then more, right? That adrenal pressure
yeah.
of doing.
Mm-hmm.
So understanding your definition, and I always say we all have the nine centers. We
Okay.
just experience the energy in each center may be different than other people depending on our definition. So if we have a colored center, a defined center, it means that we have consistent energy that we
Okay.
can tap into at any time. Versus if we have an open center, a white center, it's not consistent because we experience the energy from the outside world.
Oh,
And if you
interesting.
remember, I said the reflector, which is less than 1% of the population, they have all the centers are white, all their
Oh,
centers. So they experience all the energy from the outside world. And that's why it's important for them to be in the right environment with the right people, because
okay.
that's the energy that they're absorbing, right?
Yeah.
And they need to reflect it back.
Yeah.
Um, And I find there's a lot of work to be done there because if you have a center that's reliable, consistent within you, sometimes you need to do some inner work, but once you tap into it, it's there. You know it. It's your gift, right? It's there.
Yes.
Um, we need to do more work in the open centers depending on how we were conditioned, because sometimes we're telling a story to ourselves that it's not true.
Right.
And we need to change that story, whether it is about our self-worth, whether it's about, our fears or our emotions. And I find that there is a lot of work to be, cleaned up. As I say, let's clean up that center a little bit. um, and then to understand that we have the choice. I'll give
Okay.
you an example because I always, always, always talk about this center because I have it totally open and I did a lot of inner work on it, which is the heart center. It's the
Okay.
self-esteem center.
Yeah.
And having it white, meaning I don't have consistent energy there. And it means that I could feel my self-esteem through the people.
Uh-huh.
So if somebody tells me, good job, Rania, this podcast was amazing, I would feel like, whoo, I did a good job today.
Ah.
But if something went wrong, it would hit me there. I'll be triggered there and say, ooh, maybe I'm not good enough to do this, right? And then we go to that spiral of, the self-talk
Mhm.
through that specific energy in that center,
Yes.
right? And to my surprise, when I was studying human design, I saw that 63 to 70% of the population have the center undefined or open, meaning I'm not alone feeling this.
No, absolutely. I want to do my kids' charts now because I have a kiddo that is just like you, where that outer reflection of self-esteem seems to be really big. And then if there's
Mm,
that negativity coming towards, it's that the self-esteem tanks. And it's like,
yeah,
oh my gosh.
yeah,
And as a parent, I'm like, what am I doing wrong here? But it's
right.
looking at that chart and going, oh, that makes so much sense.
Yes. And after doing a lot of work, like I started by saying we all have the nine centers. We just experience the energy different. So
Right.
knowing that I have the center, I am worthy no matter what. I do have the center, right? I just feel
Uh-huh.
it differently. And that's where the choice comes in. I can choose to feel unworthy, or I can choose to say, well, I did a mistake. Let's fix it,
Okay.
right?
Get yourself to that space of I did a mistake and now let's fix it. Making that choice. How did you get
Yeah.
yourself there? And that's probably a really big conversation.
It is, and that's about the human design embodiment, and that's why I specifically chose that as my
Hmm.
title, right? Like embodiment coach, because I say human design is not a switch on, switch off.
Yeah.
I've lived, I'm turning 42, so I've lived, nearly 38 years
Uh-huh.
making sacral responses, doing all the wrong decisions.
Yeah.
So if I spend 30 something years making my decisions in one way, and now I need to embody a different way of making decisions, it will take me time and I need self-compassion through that process,
Okay.
right? If I have been feeling wobbly in my self-esteem because of the experiences I've been in, I
Hmm.
might still get triggered until today,
Right.
but the alignment, because I've done this work over and over again, becomes faster. So what used to take me months
Hmm.
then took me a couple of days,
Yep.
then took me a matter of, oh, let me step back from that email and
Uh-huh.
come back to it in 10 minutes, to
Yes.
now being, I say, a snip of a finger. This is my heart center. It's, I'm
Yes.
like, I'm good enough. I have nothing to prove. I'm just triggered, but I know what I need to do here. Let me step back,
Hmm.
right? And
Yep.
depending on the trigger, sometimes it will take me, you know, maybe a few minutes, maybe an hour, maybe a day, maybe two. Like we're humans, right?
Right. But
But
you have.
deep down, you remember that, but I am worthy no matter what.
Uh-huh.
And that permission slip of you do have the center.
Yes.
You are worthy. You're just
Uh-huh.
experiencing the energy differently. And this is just one specific example because it's easier for me to explain it, in a short period of time because I've done the work there. And then turning that into a superpower.
Uh-huh.
So in human design, I don't say we have strengths and weaknesses. I say we have gifts that we can tap into at any time. And then
Uh-huh.
we have superpowers because this place of vulnerability, once I do the work, I turn it into a superpower because now I can help my clients who
Yes.
are feeling the wobbly feeling of their self-esteem. And I can, scream out loud and say, "You're worthy. I've done the work. Let's do this together." Right? And turn that into a superpower. I can have a conversation with somebody or look at the chart from somebody and I know exactly how they feel
Mm-hmm.
in their self-worth. And I have
Yeah.
the tools to help them.
That's
And I
incredible.
turn that from being an ongoing trigger to maybe sometimes triggered, but that's okay. I have the tools and then a
Yes.
superpower to help others as well.
I love the look at it's a gift and a superpower.
Yeah.
And that's a huge shift in how you're viewing life and how you're really embodying things if you're looking at it as a gift and a superpower and not a positive and a negative and not like all of the things that can really tank our self-esteems, bring us down, bring our energy down,
Yeah.
but looking at a gift and a superpower. And that's such an incredible reframe.
Yeah. And I love that it resonates with you because again, the first thing I said, we all complete each other, right? And
Oh,
opposite attract. So you may have gifts, but I have them as superpowers. And how can
mhm.
we bring those together,
Right.
right? Um, you know, Sometimes, my husband, for example, he has a defined ajna, which means he's very structured in his mind. So he's very structured. He knows what he wants. This is one, two, three steps.
Yep.
Versus me, I have it open or undefined. So I
Uh-huh.
see all the different ways of doing things.
Yep.
And sometimes he's very fixed on this is the right way to do it. And
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to show him three other ways that we could do this thing.
Right.
And if you don't know human design, sometimes that could cause miscommunication.
Right.
It could cause triggers, even as a coach and client, when you're trying to help them in a way and they're very stuck in a different way. There's no
Yes.
right or wrong.
Hmm.
There's no right or wrong. In human design, there's no right or wrong. It's more about let's explore this, but let's also explore that
Uh-huh. I love
because
that.
that's a gift and this
Uh-huh.
could work. But I
Yeah.
also have a superpower of showing you all the different ways we can get there,
Right.
right? And that's the beauty of human design. Same thing with all the other centers. I'm just giving you here, a couple of examples.
Absolutely. I love the curiosity that it brings in and that there's no right or wrong because I think
Yeah.
we are conditioned to see the right and the wrong. And I had a friend who had a little girl who just recently the class got rewarded if they were good and she didn't get the reward. And it wasn't that she was bad, it's that she just didn't quite follow the directions, so she didn't get it.
Mm.
She came home and was like, "Mommy, I'm bad." And it is
Oh,
right and wrong, good and bad that's being instilled so early. And to be able to come and say, there is no right and wrong. There is the
yeah.
gift and the superpower. There is that curiosity. There is, can we work it this way or this way? I love how it opens up to that flexibility because I think there's so much growth and power in that flexibility.
Yeah. And I love how you gave an example with parenting because human design could be a very powerful tool when it comes to parenting kids by their design, teaching
Absolutely.
them how to make a line decision in their own way, right?
Mhm.
And to be themselves. And we as parents support them to, have that self-expression, the authentic, being of themselves. And it's really a beautiful tool to be applied anywhere. Like I gave an example about me, my husband, me and my parents,
Yes,
me and my clients. So it once you know yourself, and if you want to take it a notch and know that person in front of you as well, I think it's life changing.
it really can be. Because
Yeah.
it's just such an understanding in people's reactions and interactions and thought processes. And once we understand better, it's no longer that reactive that like, oh,
Yeah.
like you talked about your husband being so narrow and this is the right way. And if understanding that that's his human design, that's that thought process, then you're not
Hmm.
frustrated with, I also have somebody in my life that is, this is the right way. But then you're not
Yeah.
frustrated. You can understand. It's an ability
Yeah.
to take a step back and really say, okay, so this is their processing. Now
Yeah.
we can, navigate and negotiate around that instead of
Yeah.
so frustrated with it.
And like I said, a superpower could also be a trigger sometimes. And sometimes I'm having so much going on in my head, and I would go to him and I say, "Okay, organize my head for me, please." Right? I'm using his gift, or that's really it's very powerful to understand first and foremost yourself, because
Yes.
even if you don't know the person in front of you, as long as you stay in alignment with yourself, as
Yep.
long as you're respecting your own strategy, your own way of making decisions, trusting that your body knows what's best for you,
Uh-huh.
you stay in alignment, and then you become an energetic match for, whatever you're working on, right?
Oh, I love that. This is such an incredible conversation. I wish we had more time to just really go in. As we're kind of wrapping things up, any last thoughts that people need to hear around human design?
I think one important thing, thank you for asking this question, is to just take what resonates, leave
Uh-huh.
what doesn't.
Yes.
Um, if something doesn't feel right, explore other options. If this doesn't land, what else does? Right?
Yes.
And start really listening to your inner voice. And human design is an experiment. So take your time with it. Um, have that self-compassion as you go through this, because sometimes the permission slip is so strong that you start really opening up wounds
Oh,
or regretting things,
yes.
or it is a permission slip to be all that you are, and sometimes it opens this door of, oh, I wish I knew that before,
Hmm.
right? So
Yes.
just have that self-compassion, forgive yourself. Now that I know that information, now what? That would be my approach.
That is so powerful. Just in that little bit of step back, knowing this can open wounds, knowing that if it's not resonating, looking for different ways. And I think we should approach life like that.
Yeah,
And it's so powerful to really reframe as you're looking at human design. One of the things
yeah,
that's coming to me is that as you're going through your own human design, and yes, there's free resources and tools, as you get your chart, and I looked at my chart and I'm like, oh, that's great. And there's some like diving in and Googling and reading a little bit more. But what are the resources you would suggest if somebody's really interested in diving into human design? And because you are a resource, how can they connect with you? Because there's such power in just, I read my chart, but I got so much more talking to you about it than I did just
yeah.
looking at it on my phone.
Yes, and you said something here very important, because there's a lot of free resources and it can get overwhelming. And I
Yes.
have a lot of my clients who have been working on their own design, their own way, or but then they come to me, they're like, I know the information, but how can I apply it? Right?
Yes.
Again, it's the embodiment of it. So there's definitely so many books out there, so many free resources. You can Google stuff. Just make sure, that you validate the information that you're reading. Like, because I know, for example, Chat GPT is not 100% accurate. So just validate what you're reading.
Using chat.
Um, Yes, exactly. But like you said, I am a resource, and I do have free resources as well, free master classes, or I do like live videos sometimes, to educate. They can find me on Instagram, and I can share with you, the links on Instagram or Facebook. Those are like my main two platforms that I'm on right now.
Okay.
And I have very uh different resources, like I said, and I have like a little checklist that they can go through and download, or videos to watch. And of course, if they want like more in-depth embodiment work, I'm here to help.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so I will have all of your links down in the show notes. And I really encourage people, if it is resonating with you, to reach out and do at least the free human design. So, and I'll have the link that you shared with me down in the show notes so people can just see what their chart looks like. But if it's
Yeah.
something that really resonates, to really follow and get support around it. Because just this conversation has made me so much more excited than running my chart yesterday. So I'm like, okay, now I want to do more. But it is that difference in embodying it and really understanding versus the cognitive reading. And there's a shift in that when you're connecting and having those aha moments as you're talking. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me. That makes so much sense. So I
Yeah.
love that you're offering those resources for people. And I really do hope people connect with you if that feels aligned.
Thank you so much. Yeah, they can find me on Instagram. It's my first name and last name, Rania.ahmed, AHMED.biz, BIZ for business, or on
Great.
Facebook, Rania Ahmed as well. And thank you for sharing my links. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this conversation. This has been incredible.
It has been my pleasure. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for sharing your powerful presence and deep wisdom with us today. Your passion for human design and embodiment is truly contagious. And your journey reminds us that coming home to ourselves is the most beautiful path that we can walk. If you're feeling called to explore your own human design and live more authentically, be sure to connect with Ranya. She's a guide who leads with her heart, soul, and truth. And I would love to invite you, if you're feeling like you need a little bit more, like life is a little bit too much right now, I'm hosting a free 5-day nervous system reset for that incredible woman who wants that inner calm and power when life hits in the moment. Because this reset is sent to you 5 days, one email that has a 10-minute or less video. I think the longest video is literally 9 minutes, with proven tools that you can use in under 2 minutes in the moment of stress, in the moment of overwhelm, in the moment of when you need it most. And this is not meditation, and this is not journaling, and this is not going to take you hours, because what I have found with myself and with my clients and the people I love is life's overwhelming for a lot of us right now. And there's so much coming at us. And it's those moments that hit that you really need to come back to yourself, come home to you, feel safe in your nervous system. So this entire 5-day reset is about being able to signal safety to your body when you need it. So if that feels aligned for you, I'd love for you to join Anchor. The link is down in the podcast show notes. You'll get 5 emails that will really give you tools that I think will change your life. More than think, I know will change your life. So thank you so much for being here, for joining me. I am so grateful that you are here in my life. And because I think it is so incredibly important for you to hear that I believe in you, that I know by listening to podcasts, reading books, doing the work that you're doing, that you're somebody that really values yourself, that really values the change that you can make in this world, and really values the journey that you're on. And I am so proud of you. You are smart and creative and fun and talented and energetic and worthy and deserving of everything that you want in life. I love you and I like you. And I wish you all the happiness that today can bring. We'll talk to you on the next podcast. Hey, before you go, just a little bit of legal. This podcast is designed for educational purposes only. It is not to replace any expert advice from your doctors, therapists, coaches, or any other professional that you would work with. It's just a chat with a friend, me, where we get curious about ideas, thoughts, and things that are going on in our lives. And as we're talking about friends, if you know someone who would benefit from the conversation today, please share. Because I think the more that we open up these conversations, the more benefit we all get. So until next time, give yourself a big hug from me and stay curious, because that's the fun in this world.